everyone. Well, it was obvious parents in Hoover did their homework when they laid out some suggestions on how Hoover schools could cut millions from the school district's budget. It all started with a $2.5 million deficit and the board's announcement it would cut school bus service. The board since changed that plan to charge parents for school bus service in Hoover. Parents opposed that and came up with other ideas where the district could cut money. You're looking at some of the information on a website we'll tell you about in just a moment. Well, Trisha Crain did much of the research, poring over documents and budgets to make these recommendations for the school district and the superintendent to consider. Trisha joins us this morning from her home in Hoover. And Trisha, you've been with the Alabama School Connection blog, which you've been doing for years, and you've joined with these parents who united to save the school bus service. Tell me the biggest thing you've learned so far.
One of the biggest things I've learned is how enthusiastic parents are to step up and help solve the problem.
And you laid out these recommendations last night. Talk about last night's meeting, and the superintendent seemed to commend the parents, acknowledging how talented you all are for making these recommendations.
Right. One of the best parts of last night's meeting was to hear that the superintendent does intend to form some sort of committee. You know, it's kind of loose at this point, where we can all step to the table and talk about how we're spending money in Hoover and what are our values, you know, what's best for children. That was good to hear. That was news last night.
All right, let's talk about some of these recommendations, which you've compiled on the website, hooverfacts.wordpress.com. And what to tell that to our audience, so later on the viewers can actually go there as well. But let's look at this website here. And if you go to the page that says, let's solve this, suggestions to consider, there are different categories: programs, personnel, policy, students, non-school based, budget practices. And let's look at personnel. For example, you're talking about the city of Hoover paying for the school resource officers. That was one of the recommendations. Why?
Well, what we learned was that the Hoover City Schools and Hoover Police Department split the cost 50-50 to pay for the SROs. And it comes out to about $700,000 or $800,000 a year. It's basically what we've seen is the police department sends Hoover City Schools a bill once a year and they write a check. And that would be an easy way for the city of Hoover to help out. You know, the city funding has changed over the years, and we've looked at ways that the city could help contribute to some of these costs that we need. We need SROs. We certainly wouldn't want to eliminate them, but that's, you know, it's one place to look. It's really important to remember when we say suggestions to consider, that's exactly what we mean. We're not making any recommendations for you must cut this or you must cut that. Just take a look at these areas.
And you also zero in on certain programs that you think, where do you think they could save money most in programs?
Well, that's a really tough thing to, as Mr. Craig likes to say, get your arms around. We don't know the cost of programs. That's not something that school districts typically calculate. You know, you need to have, in college, they know how much it costs to deliver a particular course. But K through 12, they don't really know that. And that's the new wave of school finance, is to break that cost down. So you know, how much does it cost to deliver an advanced placement course? How much does the IB program cost per student? And we need to really drill down and look at those numbers.
Well, I just want to commend you, because it boils down to poring over, and I'm looking at the sources of the documents that date back to 2006, a lot of financial documents and budgets, and this was a lot of work, wasn't it?
It was a lot of work. You know, I guess I'm known as somebody who hangs on to a lot of data. I like to look at numbers. I like to know what the numbers are telling us, but I also know that numbers are only telling us a piece of the story. Children are attached to those numbers. Teachers are attached to those numbers. So it's really a juggling act. It's a lot of pies and plates spinning in the air. And you have to get a large number of folks together that can talk about all of those different implications.
All right, and the name of that website again is hooverfacts.wordpress.com for folks who are interested to go over and view it themselves. Trisha Crain, to you and the parents out there who show that you can get something done if you get together.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see what that works out in terms of recommendations later on. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, well, time